8 months ago, me and my wife separated and I went into the darkest period of my life. And I'm just coming out of that now. Life's getting better. And I wanted to share with you where I've been, what my experiences have been, what I've learned, and where I'm going now. I had planned on documenting the whole thing, week by week, what I'm up to, how I'm feeling. But to be honest, I felt so broken for most of it that I didn't feel like I had anything worth sharing that people would want to listen to. Bit of background, me and my wife had been together for 10 years, married for nearly 7. We have a 3-year-old daughter. I've made videos before about the reasons why the separation came about. Fundamentally, we're not compatible, but there were factors like when we first met, I was earning a lot more than her. I had my own business and I used to pay for everything and I was very happy to do that. Then after a few years, she started to rise up in her career at the same time as I got really disheartened with mine. I ended up selling the business, and for a couple of years I was pretty lost. I was trying to figure out whether I wanted a career change. I wasn't earning as much, and I believe that really tipped the balance because she didn't need me anymore. Maybe it eroded respect. I think there is definitely something in the male-female dynamic that is a factor. I've spoken to several other divorced guys who had a similar story. He was earning a lot more, then he wasn't, and it seems that there's a 1 to 2 year window where if you don't turn it around, then she's gone. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this happens to everybody, but it just seems to be a pattern. Another factor is that she's bisexual. Now, I always knew that, and that was never a problem, but I found out actually that she started seeing a woman 6 months before we moved out. Now, in her mind, she had already separated from me, so she didn't feel like it was cheating or anything like that. But the overlap was already there, And to be fair, I've met this woman, and she's lovely. She looks after my daughter really well, and now we've got quite a good relationship. But at the time, when I first found out about it, I was very hurt. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Now, in some ways, it is easier that she's with a woman rather than another guy or a series of guys, because, frankly, I can't compete with that, so we'll leave it at that. Divorce hits men really hard, much harder, I'd say, on average than women. And there's a few reasons that I can see for that. Firstly, most divorces are started by women. For whatever reason, there may be very valid reasons for those. Maybe he's cheated, maybe he was abusive, etc., etc. I didn't do any of that, by the way. But for whatever reason, the woman, in about 90% of cases, instigates the divorce, which means for a lot of guys, you feel like it's been done to you. You feel like she has all the control, she's made this choice, you don't want it to happen, and now you're in a position where this is being done to you, your family's been taken away. And it's easy to feel that you're not in control. You're not in control of your life's dismantling around you, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. Suicide is apparently 9 times higher in divorced men than divorced women. And again, probably different factors for that. Maybe there's personality factors involved. Maybe it's just because it's more likely in guys anyway. Maybe it's because of the external locus of control. You feel like it's been done to you. Maybe, those personality factors that lead people to do that, maybe that was in some cases part of the reason why she lost respect for you. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not, saying anything other than I'm trying to find patterns and I'm trying to find, meaning behind all of this. Another factor in why it hit me so hard is my parents divorced when I was 12. Now, I didn't realize how much that affected me until I was in my 30s. Did some counseling, and I realized that the separation from my father not being around, really kind of affected me more than I thought. And I never ever wanted that to happen to my family. So I definitely felt like a failure when my family as I knew it was coming to an end. And I felt like I failed my daughter, failed as a husband, and all of that just piles on top of each other and basically makes you feel awful. Now, I have to be honest, my self-care went pretty much out the window. I made a video just before we moved out where I talked about, things that I found help while you're going through this process. Now, self-care was one of them, and I completely agree, it absolutely is. But I have to admit, I didn't always practice it. I was definitely drinking too much, got out the exercise habit, wasn't sleeping properly, just snacking instead of eating consistently. All the things, basically the opposite of what we know helps you feel better. Probably could have tried harder on that, but I have to admit at the time you feel so much like you're in crisis mode that you just want to do anything to make you feel better at the time, and that's just where I was. I have to admit, I think the gym saved me, in the sense that getting back in the gym, getting back lifting weights, which I did a couple of months after we moved out, joined a gym again, and started training properly. It gives you something to work towards. It makes you feel physically stronger, and I think it stops your body breaking down. I really think lifting heavy weights and doing a bit of cardio just makes you a lot more physically resilient. Even if you're not looking after yourself in every other way, which of course you should, then it definitely helps you to just kind of withstand the other stresses in life. What I found when we first separated for the first couple of months was that your world really shrinks. And again, this is about going into kind of crisis panic mode again. So, people would say to me, oh, try to think for the future. I can't see beyond today, the next few hours, getting off the couch. Sometimes it's like that. So it's hard to make a life plan when you can't see beyond how you're going to get through today. And that's absolutely fine. And I think as long as you're vaguely looking after yourself, like remembering to eat and that kind of thing, then, one day at a time, sometimes is just the way to go. I was renting a room with a flatmate for a couple of months before I moved into my place, which I bought, which I'll show you actually quickly. So this is my bachelor pad. So I've got my Eames lounge chair there, got my Chesterfield. It's my favourite painting ever. Jones the Skeleton, I got him at uni about 22 years ago. That's my little kitchen. Oh, and that's a view of the harbour there. So it's a nice little pad, and it didn't look like this when I first moved in, by the way. It was there was an old lady lived here for 10 years, and the whole thing needed refurbishing. But doing that, seeing this place come together piece by piece and becoming home, and me putting my stamp on it, like all of this, like the Chesterfield and stuff like that. Basically, I Googled a quintessential bachelor pad. It's like, well, you've got to have a Chesterfield, you've got to have this and that. So I was like, right, I'm sorry, I'm going to make this into like in my own wonderful little space that I want to smile every time I walk in here, and I do. So definitely putting this place together and having a lovely home now, that really was kind of instrumental in bringing me out of this. But for a couple of months, I lived in a shared flat, and that was great. Having a housemate around was really, really helpful. It was nice to have someone there, have some company. At the same time, I definitely, especially towards the end, started feeling like a burden on him. And he opened up to me at some point and said, like, I've had friends who have killed themselves, and I am really concerned about you. And I could see that it was worrying him, and I didn't want to put that on him. Now, I wouldn't kill myself because of my daughter, and I don't think I'm that type anyway. But I can totally see how people can go there. I can totally see how, your world falls apart and you don't know what to do. I can see how people would get to that point. In fact, I did have a mini nervous breakdown. So this is just after I found out that my wife had a new partner and suspected that they'd been seeing each other for quite a long time. And I found out through my daughter. My daughter mentioned her name, and so I asked my wife about it. She was like, "Oh yeah, she's my girlfriend." And for the next couple of days, it was just the final straw, and it broke me. For the next couple of days, I think you might call it a nervous breakdown. I found it really hard to talk. I couldn't say more than 2 or 3 words at a time. Even walking, my walking was very jerky. And after a few hours of this, I could talk a bit better. I tried to phone my doctor. I couldn't get through, so I phoned the NHS Direct, which in the UK is, you can phone them, they give you medical advice. And they got a doctor to call me, who I spoke to, and he said, look, I don't want to put you on antidepressants straight away, but you need to be able to sleep. So I want you to drink less and get these sleeping tablets, and call me in a week if it's still going on. I'll tell you what, those helped a lot. it didn't solve the problem, but it kind of got me through that immediate crisis. And yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. So what helped? What helped? Getting the flat together and making it beautiful really, really made a difference. It was like watching this place come together it's like a microcosm of me. I was watching myself come together and building the little bits at a time. And it took a while actually, because the decorator was really unreliable. But the pro side of that is, if it all happened in one go, I don't think I'd get the same pleasure from it. I don't think I'd get the same kind of sense of like building something one thing at a time. Like I get so much, even that little light switch over there that's like, I can't think you can see it, it's a little brass light switch. When that went on, I was like, oh yeah, great light switch. Silly little details like this just gave me something to focus on. Socializing. Now, I didn't feel like socializing, but some of my friends dragged me out. Some of them came around, and I wasn't really in the mood, and I did make a bit of an effort, but it definitely did help. It took a while actually before I could really relax socially and have a good time, because I was in just such a negative state most of the time. But what they also did is help me with my daughter. So when I was looking after her, throughout this time, by the way, every other weekend and a couple of days a week, I'd look after my daughter. And to be honest, a lot of the time I put Peppa Pig on, and we ate snacks, and we'd go for a walk, go to the playground for an hour, and not much more than that. But I did try to make an effort, but it was a real struggle. So having friends who had children really, really helped as well, because first of all, they know what it's like to have kids, but also, she had other friends to play with, they had toys to play with, and it was just nice to have support like that. Something else that helped was sleeping with a couple of girls. Eventually I started meeting people, and met someone through a friendship group, someone through a dating app, and I won't go into detail, but that definitely kind of helps to snap you out a bit. Anyway, my best friend, bless him, did try to be helpful, and I wasn't sure whether to talk about this or not, but he gave me very practical and direct advice, which I think was good advice, but it's not what I felt like I needed or wanted at the time. He'd say, right, you're in a bad place. What you need to do is stop drinking, get some counseling, get on some dating apps. Like, great, really, really good. At the time though, I felt like I just wanted someone to give me a hug. I felt like I wanted, just to know that somebody was there. I totally get where he was coming from, but it made me really think about what people need when they're going through, trauma and a crisis. What do they need? I think it's a combination of both of those. I think it's a combination of just to know someone cares and is going to give you some time, and also some practical advice and a bit of a kick in the arse sometimes. And here I am now. So making this video is a really important step for me, because I've been putting off making content for months. So making this video, I kind of made myself do it today to kickstart being more outgoing and sharing and not hiding, which was what I kind of recognized I was doing, in drinking, not going out, just being really negative, insular. It's easy to get into the habit and the pattern of just hiding in your shell. But sometimes when you make yourself get out of it, you just feel better. You just feel better. So here we are. So from now on, I'm going to be making more content on how I'm building my life, a bit more reflecting on things, things that have helped, because I know I'm not the only person that's been through this, and I hope that some of the things I'm saying, some of the things I'm sharing, might help other people. Please let me know if any of this resonates, and I hope to see you soon.